we're getting on. Yeah, okay, I'll do this.
Okay.
So this is I Don't Think So, Honey. It's our 1 minute segment where we take 60 seconds, aka 1 minute, if you really think about it, to rip something apart in culture. And here we go.
This is Matt Rogers. I Don't Think So, Honey. His time starts now.
I don't think so, honey, that coffee gives you coffee breath.
Mm.
That sucks. We need to figure it out. Like, actually wake up in the morning and I become that person where I open my eyes and I need caffeine. I don't think so, honey, that it's going to change anytime soon. Our guest is off caffeine, and I feel like I'm inspired by that, but
Yes.
it's just another one of my strange addictions. I now wake up in the morning, and also now I have relationships at the coffee shops. Those are my girls. I have my
back out of
girls in
those.
LA, and I have my girls in New York, and I just realized in this moment I'm leaving my apartment in LA,
30
and I'm
seconds.
leaving my girls.
Aww.
That's really hard.
They're really
But back
sweet.
to what I was there, so sweet. Fernanda. She also stands Lana Del Rey.
She loves Lana.
And like literally when I said I was going to Coachella, she goes, I love Lana. She did
15
this.
seconds.
And so she's an icon. But listen, the thing about coffee is it gives you coffee breath, which is so bad for kissing, speaking, breathing, etc. and more. And I just want to figure out a way to get my fix of caffeine and not have coffee breath. I guess here it is, Diet Coke, Celsius, etc. But I love coffee. I don't think so, honey.
That's 1 minute.
Like, I'm now at the place where
You just gotta go cold turkey on it, I think.
I think so, but it's like now it's like so built into my life getting a cold brew right away.
First thing when you wake up.
I quit over Christmas break.
And was it just because like you were getting?
Yeah, I was just like going crazy.
Yeah.
I was like already too anxious, and so like I was like, if I want to actually calm down,
Yeah.
I have to take every stimulant away.
Yeah.
Every stimulant.
So wait, do you smoke weed?
Not right now.
Not right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like basically, are you in a place right now of like there's nothing going in?
Good.
I
But-
wish.
Let me say that as an asterisk. I want a fuck ton of drugs though. Like
Yeah.
I
I'm
hear you.
on like
But it's not recreational.
no, not right now. No.
SSRI queen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on.
I've got my. I also have insomnia.
Mm.
So like, and I'm bipolar, so it's like really hard if you
Yeah.
are like not sleeping, and like doing like weed.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
it's
The
just like
cocktail.
the cocktail. But I do love an edible. I do love shrooms. Thank you, Silo, for sending me a box. I don't know how you did that legally.
Hey Silo,
We
we're
love
Matt and
some.
Bowen,
I
and
should
we
fucking
would
borrow some.
love that.
Fuck.
I know.
Okay.
Next time. Next time.
But I agree with you. It's really hard. Quitting caffeine sucks for 4 weeks straight.
Well, because I
But
think
then you're okay.
what we're not reckoning with is it is a drug.
Totally.
Like,
of course.
it is a
Stimulant.
drug. Like, and I actually wondered about that. Like, people that are in AA and stuff. Like, I wonder what the relationship is with caffeine.
I'm sure there's a support group out there for you.
That's wild.
I think we can let's do it together.
Well, it's like add it to the list. I'm now at the place where it's just like I don't know why I keep doing this, but I'm moving to a new apartment in New York, and I keep associating that with the day my new life will begin. But like you can't. That's like addict speak to yourself.
course.
It's like, well, I'll be sober from this thing by age 35, or like I'll
Yeah.
just stop doing this on May 12th.
Here
You
it
know what I
is.
mean? It's like, but why wouldn't you just stop doing it now?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's me with caffeine, and this would solve my coffee breath problem.
Period. I think
Very afraid of people. Like, I think one of the worst things that could happen is for people to be like, oh, he has bad breath. That's bad.
That is my worst nightmare.
Yeah,
We're good.
someone saying that.
don't worry.
Anyway.
Don't worry about it.
Okay, Bowen Yang, you actually came in galvanized today.
I did.
Okay, so this is Bowen Yang's I Don't Think So, Honey. His time starts now.
I don't think so, honey. Ampersands. You're doing too much.
Oh.
Why do you look like that? Why do you look like other ways? Stay in one lane, figure out one look. I'm gonna draw an ampersand right now, okay? And now I have carpal tunnel. That is crazy, that shape. And I looked it up. This is what ampersand is short for, quote unquote. And per se, and. Honey, just say and.
Yeah.
Just say and. You will never be plus. You will
30
never be
seconds.
universal, worldwide, global like plus is. Good luck finding an ampersand in any non-Latin based writing system.
Ah.
Plus is here to stay. Plus, everyone on earth, from children to elders, knows what plus means. It will
15
stand for
seconds.
and just fine. And if you're too lazy to write A-N-D, honey, you're in for a rude awakening. Lots of other challenges in life up ahead for you.
Oh.
Ampersand,
5
it's
seconds.
not saving you time. It's gonna give you wrist problems. And you're being You're being stupid.
And that's what
I
it is.
didn't stick the landing.
No, you did. That was great. That was Epic Universe.
Thank you.
I have to say, especially as two people who often are Matt and Bowen, and the ampersand is in there, don't do it.
Don't do it.
From now on, it's Matt plus Bowen, right?
Matt plus Bowen. We're doing plus, and I'm gonna take the. I've used an ampersand recently. I'm gonna start to retroactively.
You ended ampersand today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Sorry.
Thoughts on ampersand?
I use it every day.
No. Wait, when you're doing what?
I write in cursive, and so it's like
Oh,
You're so
I'm
cool.
like do. I use and sign all the time though.
Yeah.
I don't-
How do you write it? How do you write
I
it?
don't do that crazy 8 thing.
It's the crazy 8 thing. You do the reverse 3 and the line down the middle.
I just go. It looks like an upside down 4.
No, that's a plus sign.
Yeah. Okay, then I do that.
Then you do that.
Wait. Because you've also done it, I don't think so, honey, on the letter 9.
On the letter 9.
No, sorry, the number 9. Sesame Street, reach out. You need us there to teach the children. Wait, the number 9,
Yes.
you did not. So wait, if you don't like ampersand, how can you stand by the number 8?
I love because 8 represents the number 8, and
But it still will give you carpal tunnel if asked to write it, if tasked with writing it.
and it's easier for me to write 8 the numeral than it is to write EIGHT. And is barely saving you any time from writing A and D.
I do agree that handwriting and ampersand is like a mindfuck, but you know, if you can figure it out, which just seems
Upside
like you
down
have.
4, play. I support. Okay.
Okay.
Chapel, I feel like you wrote your topic down, and we don't know what it is yet.
This is how I do it. This is like
Okay.
Is this the creative process? Are you always carrying around like a moleskin?
this isn't mine. This is
No, I know,
next.
but I'm in a world where it is yours.
Bowen and
Oh,
that's she.
really good.
Thank you.
Okay, it's time.
This is Chapel Roan's I Don't Think So Honey, EIGHT, and is barely saving you any time from writing A and D.
I do agree that handwriting and ampersand is like a mindfuck, but you know, if you can figure it out, which just seems
Upside
like you
down
have.
4, play. I support. Okay.
Okay.
Chapel, I feel like you wrote your topic down, and we don't know what it is yet.
This is how I do it. This is like
Okay.
Is this the creative process? Are you always carrying around like a moleskin?
this isn't mine. This is
No, I know,
next.
but I'm in a world where it is yours.
Bowen and that's she.
Really good.
Thank you.
Okay, it's
This is how I do it. This is like
is this the creative process? Are you always carrying around like a moleskin?
this isn't mine. This is
No, I know,
next.
but I'm in a world where it is yours.
Bowen and that's she.
Really good.
Thank you.
Okay, it's time.
This is Chapel Roan's I Don't Think So Honey. Her time starts now.
Do I look in the camera? Sorry.
Whatever you want to do.
Okay. I don't think so, honey. Is stop. Let people get bad veneers. So let them have veneers. Let the people have bad veneers. Let them have good veneers. Let them fall out. Let them be pure white. Let them look like coffee. Let them. Who cares if they don't fit? What if they love them?
Yeah.
What if people love their veneers? What if they saved up so long to get these veneers?
30 seconds.
And then you say that they look fucked up.
Oh.
Don't say that to them. Let the girls get veneers.
Yes.
Let them look like buck teeth. And you know what? It's okay if they talk different.
15
seconds.
That's what happens when you change your teeth. You're just gonna look and talk different, and it's okay. Stop dragging them. Your teeth are probably busted, which is fine.
Yeah.
5 seconds.
Which is fine. But you know what? I support you if you got veneers and you're busted.
Yeah, and that's 1 minute. Okay, this is important.
Wait. This is amazing.
It's very American of people to be like, I know how teeth are supposed to look.
Do you want to know my hottest take?
What's this?
How people drag cosmetic surgery and drag cosmetic whatever, la la la.
Yeah.
You know what's fucking cosmetic? Braces.
Yeah.
So you want to tell me you haven't had cosmetic work done, but you've had braces?
Got him.
Got him.
Don't tell me that.
We've all had gender affirming care. And all
Yeah.
me shaving my fucking stubble this morning is GAC.
Wow.
Not to go there, but veneers. Are you speaking? And I will say this is especially meaningful coming from you because I feel like your orthodonture is very pristine.
I had because I had work done
You had
Yeah.
on my
braces.
teeth. Yeah, I had fucking Invisalign for
Yeah.
years. because I could afford it.
Right.
What was the Invisalign process like for you? I'm actually flirting with it in my brain. Because people have started to get a little mean about my teeth.
Because they can't, because they're American.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, it's only in the United States that it's fucking, people are obsessed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you do have straight teeth and they're fucking yellow, they better not be. Like,
Yeah.
and in reality, bitch, you have to have money to do this shit. Like,
Yeah.
it's so expensive. No one has fucking healthcare. No one can afford fucking braces.
Yeah.
Like, so I say let them be. I say
Yeah.
let it be. We need girls with different teeth.
I never thought I had bad teeth.
You
I don't
don't.
think you do have bad
You
teeth.
know what it is? It's like they're just okay. So this
They're
is
evenly spaced.
this is the truth. This is the truth. I did a very small role in a movie called Lyle Lyle Crocodile.
A huge movie called La La
A huge
Crocodile.
film called
Yeah.
Lyle Lyle. My co-stars Shawn Mendes as the crocodile and Constance Wu as herself. As a
Yeah.
character, but
Yeah.
she was
And
not.
what was
animated.
your character?
So I played like a Ryan Seacrest, like America's Got Talent, like host, because of course Lyle Lyle goes and wows the judges at the end.
Right.
So the little boy playing lead, I'm saying this publicly,
Uh-oh.
comes over
Oh,
to me,
yeah,
like runs over
I-
to me and goes, I'm like, hey, what's up? He goes, you have sharp teeth like a shark. And I go, I literally go,
Not a bad
you
thing.
can't say that to people. And he just runs away. And I was like, this little actor just dragged me to hell. And then, you know what happened? I went into the goddamn bathroom and went like this. Pretty hearts, shine a light on whatever's words. Like, immediately thinking, like, what is wrong? And then they started saying, like, he needs braces, but I also want to tell you I talk out of one side of my mouth. So, but this is the stuff you Americans have gotten in my head. And then one guy I was dating said, never change the gap. And I was
Never
like,
change
okay.
the gap. No. Everybody.
I've dated a lot of different teeth people. And I like them all.
Yeah.
As long as you don't have bad breath, who fucking cares?
Right. That's my coffee.
I love it. I love when people have gold teeth. I love it when people have missing teeth.
Yes.
I just like, let's see. It's also just like, bitch, some parents could never fucking afford their kid to have braces.
I
When
know.
when you grow up, that's just what happens. Like,
I know.
like-
I know.
And you know what? It's fucking hell to have braces. And some people really need them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because, or else they'll have actual, like, jaw problems or, like, teeth will start falling out because
Yeah.
there's overcrowding. Whatever, bitch.
Yeah.
Like, but I was actually admiring your teeth the whole time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was like, they're so cute. And
Thank
so
you for saying
bright.
this.
And you have very white teeth, too.
Yes, Bowen Yang has a great
But I'm
dental
saying,
situation.
thank you for saying this important thing about let veneers be yellow, because they should be a little yellow, because then someone's gonna say, well, those veneers are too white. It's like you can't win with
No.
them.
You won't win. You won't win.
That's an important distinction. It's
I-
not about can't. It's not about should.
Yeah. Or you
Wow.
might win, you will not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's for my therapist on Monday. That's
Honestly, are you going once a week?
oh, baby, I'm in twice a week.
Yes.
I'm in twice a week. I have my biodynamic craniosacral therapy. I have my
Ooh.
acupuncture. I have all my girls.
I need to try acupuncture.
Acupuncture will slay.
Really?
I had to do it like 10 times
Mm.
until I really was like, I understand now.
It takes a minute.
It takes a second.
What do you mean? Like physically, it's hard to adjust to
It's
it, or it just wasn't
because
doing it?
like, you know, you're like, I was trained in like only medicine works, like only like taking
Got it.
medicine works, and so whenever I don't have like an immediate, like I
Result.
take Tylenol and then I feel better. If
Yeah.
I go and get acupuncture and I'm like, nothing's different.
Yeah.
I was like, does this work? I don't know. And it's like with wellness medicine, it's about,
Yeah.
you have to keep fucking going and showing up. And
Yeah.
like, I realized if like the actual acupuncture itself wasn't doing anything differently, I knew that every time I walked in there, I immediately got calmer.
Yeah.
And that's, and
Yeah.
now I believe that
It's doing something.
it is,
Yeah.
it's doing both now.
Right. I love that I'm just lying there for like a half hour and I can't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of cool. Today was kind of cool. Today was very cool. And we were so happy that you were able to come. Like, we've been wanting to do this with you for such a long time. And we are, obviously, it feels like even silly to say, but, like, we are such fans.
I
Like,
know.
Like, we really, I just think you're the best.
You guys made me feel so special. Like, you believed in the art. Like, you were the start of the getting the queer community on board.
Oh,
like,
no.
No, I'm serious. Like, you, like, I remember whenever, like, you guys nominated me.
And you said
Album
you
of
were
the
a
year.
speech from Buckingham Palace. Do
I
you remember
did.
that?
I
Yes,
was
we
at
love
Buckingham
that.
Palace. And I was like, I can't believe I'm nominated with like Muna. Like, that's so crazy.
Oh.
I was like, this is crazy that these were all like nominated. That feels so big. And because I've never been like recognized on a platform that big yet. So that was so, I don't know. I just really appreciate it, and that you got it. Like, you were the first public people in media to get it, because you articulated it to write for the first time, because you were like, it's campy, there's lore, and I was like, finally someone understands that it's a joke. Finally they understand that everything I'm doing is like an homage or reference to like the queer elders. Finally someone understands that it's deeper than just what I'm doing on stage or writing about. Like, it felt so nice to be understood. That is what was so awesome. I was like, it's working, and they're the proof.
It's
Like,
so working, and you're
Yeah.
so for real, and we just like, it's been like truly surreal and a joy even for us to watch everyone really embrace you. And I just hope that even sometimes when it feels difficult, you know just how held you are and how loved you are and how special we think you are.
Thank you.
And like, you'll always have a place right there and right here.
Thank you.
Let's get veneers together.
Thank you.
I know.
Yes.
So we end every episode with a
Oh
song,
my
bro.
god, this is my third triangle. I hate all of
This
them.
so. I mean, we could do one of our guests, but also.
Also, let's just do it.
Oh, caught in a bad romance. Oh, caught in a bad romance. I knew you'd go up.
I went up.
You can hear everything. Bye.
Las Culture is just
meeting rooms in Soho House, and then I got into the meeting room, and it was like one wall was all window.
Echo, wake me up at 5 a.m.
Alarm set for 5 a.m. tomorrow.
And Sean Combs was standing there, staring out the window with his hands behind his back, like a Marvel supervillain. And the whole courtroom, they're just giggling. The jurors are giggling because it's so like out of nowhere. Like, we were so serious, like everything is so tense, and then we are kind of. You can picture him standing there looking like a Marvel supervillain, and the only person not smiling, not giggling, is Sean Combs. He does not find this very funny at all.
really.
Not even a little bit humorous.
Huh.
Yeah, it was just me and him in the room, no security, nobody. What happened when it was just you and Mr. Combs in the room at the Soho House? We discussed, pretty much the whole story about how me and Cassie first started to date, to what it was, to how it ended, and his whole point was, we were homies, that was my girl. I let him know that, she told me that they were broken up, and I took her word for it. Yeah. What was Mr. Combs' demeanor during the meeting? Very calm. He kept offering me water. He offered me water twice. Which I thought this part was so interesting because I don't think offering water to someone twice itself is intriguing or memorable in any way, because this happened in 2012. It is now 2025. But clearly it must have stood out to Kid Cudi enough that not only does he remember it decade later, but he mentions it in the testimony.
And twice.
Yes. And again, twice is not, it must have, something about the two times must have been weird.
Yes.
That he can't maybe necessarily even articulate, because I don't think when you just have a feeling and you're like, that was weird, but I
Did
don't.
he take it though?
I don't think so.
Right. So he must remember that, you give me the water, I'm not drinking that. I am not drinking that.
Or maybe he just kept saying, you look thirsty, drink some water. And you're like, I'm not thirsty, but that's weird that you would even keep asking me if I want water when we're already talking and I'm not staying for a long time. I don't know.
Or
It's weird.
You think even the way that he's trying to blow up his car, it's a crazy threat, right?
Yes.
He's coming after him. So,
Allegedly. Love scar. Well, yeah, he claims, yes.
but he showed up. He still showed up with Diddy.
Yes.
Did he say that if he's nervous, he's scared,
Because that's a really brave move, like going
No.
directly to Diddy.
He didn't say any of that. He just said they needed to figure it out because it's escalating too much. It's getting out of hand. I also wonder if it's like, in the industry, you can't really. I don't know.
It's like going into your enemy's home
Territory,
base.
yeah. What was your reaction to his demeanor? It was very off-putting. It was weird that he was so calm. Eventually, Cassie walks in, and Kid Cudi says he was kind of upset to find out that she was going back to Sean. Can you describe how the meeting with Mr. Combs ended at Soho House? Yeah, we stood up, shook hands, and as I was shaking his hand, I said, "What are you going to do about my car?" I made sure to ask him right when our hands were clasped together, where he couldn't run away and I could look him square in his eyes. And he looked right back at me with a very cold stare and said, "I don't know what you're talking about." I said, "Okay." Took my hand from his, and he said, "Wait, I thought we were cool. Is there a problem?" I was like, "You said you didn't burn my car, right? You said. That's your word." He said, "Yeah." I was like, "That's it." A few years later, Kid Cudi mentions he runs back into Sean Combs at the Soho House. He was with his daughter, and he pulled me to the side and basically apologized for everything. He said, and I quote, "Man, I just want to apologize for everything and all that bullshit." After I got the apology, I kind of found peace with it because I thought, that was the last thing I was expecting to get from him. Now, side note about this Soho House incident, Combs' defense attorneys didn't even want it to be included in front of the jurors in the testimony. They argue that there's no evidence that proves that Sean Combs was behind the break-in in the house or the car incident. Those investigations have led to nothing. They haven't led back to Sean Combs.
When were attorneys arguing this right now?
Before the testimony.
Before Cudi walked in.
So before and after, and I think it's still a point of contention.
Oh.
Yeah, they're still trying to file a motion to get it struck from the record. Now, Sean Combs they're saying there's nothing to prove that he was behind any of this. So that essentially, they don't want Kid Cudi to say out loud to the jurors on the stand that he met up with Sean Combs at Soho House a few days later after his car was lit on fire because he thought Sean Combs did it. The prosecutors are arguing, well, that's what Kid Cudi thought. He's not saying, "Oh, I know he did it," or "I was told he did it," or "he did 100%. He's saying, "I went to this meeting with Sean Combs because I thought he did it." That was my thought, my brain. This whole debate between the attorneys is very intense. I mean, the judge is trying to clarify. How would you explain why he was going to the meeting in the first place? He's asking the defense attorneys, how do you connect the dots without explaining what the reason was to have the meeting? He's saying that's the connecting piece. The jurors are going to be like, okay, that's so random. Why are you suddenly going to a meeting with Sean Combs' son a few days after your car explosion? The defense attorney is like, how would you explain why he was doing the meeting in the first place? How do you connect the dots without, even though he had nothing to do with it. Just leave it at that. Brian Steele's like, just leave it at that. The car blew up, and then he goes to a meeting with Sean Combs. And the judge is confused. The judge says, is he just a person who could figure it out, sleuth it out? He's like, is he a little detective?
Like Sean Combs?
Yeah,
A little
why is he
detective?
meeting with Sean Combs after his car blew up?
Yeah.
Because it's not like they're friends and the whole press, they're giggling because, again, the logic is not logically, and it's just becoming silly.
Yeah.
So it is in the testimony. It was said in front of the jurors. But after Kid Cudi's testimony, which we're going to get into the cross, there has been a lot of social media discourse, and a few that I find very interesting and very notable are the comments made by Young Thug, famously one of Brian Steele's clients. He goes onto Twitter same day, very quickly tweets and then deletes, "Damn, Cudi a rat, LOL." He very instantly deletes that tweet because likely that started a whole conversation, a pretty heated debate about Young Thug's own case, which, side note, there is no evidence at all that he cooperated with prosecutors, but he did take a plea deal. So some people are saying all people who take a plea deal are snitches. Others are arguing that the only reason that Young Thug got away with his case, quote, got away, is because it wasn't handled by the feds, but rather the state. So they were like, please shut up while you're lucky. That's what the netizens are saying. I'm not saying any of that. I have said nothing. Others are debating what qualifies as a rat. Some argue, well, no, because Kid Cudi only called the police later, and then he never told the police Sean Combs did it. So he's not a rat.
Right, okay.
But then some people are saying, well, the fact that he's testifying right now is a rat. And then others are arguing, yeah, well, this is exactly what we mean by Sean Combs was protected by the industry for decades, because the minute that someone speaks out from the industry, you're like, you're a rat.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Another musician that has spoken out against Kid Cudi is Kanye West, which, I mean, I have not really been following all of the atrocious things that have been going on in Kanye's life and the things that he's been saying, but there are lots of connections here. Mainly Kanye West's rather unhinged, outspoken support of Sean Combs. If you guys do want us to do a deep dive on it, we can try to do one. Kanye even recorded a phone call that he had with Sean Combs while Sean was in jail, and basically Sean is telling him, quote, "It's wicked, wicked, wicked. When I get out there, I want to see you fucking tear down the stadiums. I need to see you back on that stage. I be dreaming of that. We're going to have years and decades to fight these motherfuckers. I'm going to see you soon, man. I got like 59 more days before trial." This is 2 months before trial.
Wow.
So I'll definitely be touching in to tap into your energy or something. Give me some fucking life. This shit is fucking sad. Puff Daddy in jail. Fucking sad as a motherfucker. The devil is a liar.
You know what I'm saying? It's wicked, wicked, wicked. So you be careful. We're going to have years and decades to fight these motherfuckers. It's sad. Puff Daddy in jail. It's sad. The devil is a liar.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
And Kanye posted that phone call?
Yeah. And it does not seem like Sean Combs knew that he was being recorded.
Yeah.
Now, Kanye has since tweeted and deleted, quote, "I wish Cudi hadn't testified against Puff. We need not to be locked in white systems. Praying for Puff and his family, praying for Puff Daddy and the family."
Wow. So Kanye really supports Diddy.
Yeah. Side note, Kanye and Kid Cudi, they were actually closely allied.
Oh.
Now, I feel like people who are a lot more musically inclined than I am can probably provide a lot more insight, but from what we could tell, Kanye and Kid Cudi have had a very interesting relationship. Kid Cudi was briefly signed under Kanye's music label, which is not so obviously labeled the good music label, and Kanye even went on to call Kid Cudi, quote, "the most influential artist of the past 10 years. But then randomly, Cudi announces that he's leaving Good Music. Ultimately, it does seem somewhat cordial. Cudi explains, "Kanye and I were talking to each other on the phone, and, you know, these are things that I've been wanting to talk to him about, me starting my own direction." And he got it, because, you know, he's trying to start his new path and try new things as an artist. And he was just like, "Man, I feel you as an artist. It's cool, whatever. This is just from a business standpoint. There's no beef. There's no problems with anybody on the label. It's all love." But the two end up having a very contentious falling out because Kim Kardashian, Kanye West divorce. Kim Kardashian starts dating Pete Davidson. Kid Cudi remains close friends with Pete Davidson because he was already friends with him. He does not cut Pete Davidson out of his life, and Kanye is upset. To which Kid Cudi even addresses Kanye publicly, saying, "I'm not one of your kids. I'm not Kim. It doesn't matter if I'm friends with Pete or not friends with Pete. None of it had anything to do with me. If you can't be a grown man and deal with the fact that you lost your woman, like, what do you want me to do? That's not my fucking problem. You need to own up to your shit like every man in this life has. I've lost women too, and I've had to own up to it. I don't need that in my life. I don't need it." Because at this point, Kanye was doing his thing where he's, like, tweeting and Instagram storying, like, just bullshit, right? Now, another focus is, a lot of netizens have been using Kid Cudi's cross-examination to start a new round of discourse about whether or not Cassie is a victim. I think that discourse is likely kicked off by Brian Steele's cross-examination. I do think that when it comes to cross-examinations, originally, I do think that regardless of, like, if one thinks certain elements and, like, twisting of the words, because I do think that cross-examinations are all twisting the witness's words, and it's unfair, and every witness walks away like, what the hell was that, probably, right? But I think in the act itself, I think Nicole Westmoreland really sells her cross well. Mark Agnifilo, he will do the longest crosses in the history of what feels like forever, and at every time that he says one more thing, and we'll get to that later, you just hear at least like 3 people in the courtroom sigh. I feel like one of them's the judge, one of them's the juror, one of them is in the press, and then probably everybody else, because it's like, I don't know why he's a filibusterer. And then Brian Steele, his crosses have been, like, not, like, they've been okay. He has a showman's stature, like the way he stands, the things he does, but when it comes to, especially this cross-examination, he's just, like, to the point. He's just trying to get somewhere. Like, he's trying to get to the destination. So he goes up there, and he's got this manila folder filled with Post-it notes, and He's got this very clean-cut, authoritative seriousness about him, and he starts off, I want to ask you some questions about your Porsche, okay? Yes. So, if you remember, it's January of 2022. Does that sound right? Kid Cudi is like 2012. Which is an honest mistake, right? But it's very interesting because I'm like, did he do this on purpose? Brian Steele looks directly up at Kid Cudi, almost in a way where I feel like I would have been thrown off. And he goes, what'd I say? You said 2022. I apologize, 2012. Like, I don't know if saying the wrong year was intentional, likely not, but like his confrontation right from the get-go, I think would have thrown me off. Like the what I say, it was like very intense. I remember being like, what'd I say? And it was kind of in like a southern accent, but it didn't come off hostile. It came off like very authoritative. It was just like, what'd I say? Answer the question. Oh, okay, my bad. So it was just a little weird. I don't think Kid Cudi was thrown off, but if it were me, I think I would have been. It just feels intense. Now, the main focus of the cross-examination is that there's no witness putting Sean Combs or any of his associates near Kid Cudi's house or car the day that his car was lit on fire. And, quote, you and Ms. Ventura had been talking every day for about a year. Is that true? For the most part. And that's why it was surprising to you, or I think your word today before the honorable court and the jury, you were confused, very confused, to hear that she was dating Sean Combs while dating you, right? Basically trying to tell the jurors that Cassie is cheating. Kid Cudi responds, yes. Ms. Ventura was not frank with you, true? True. She played you. Those are your words, right? Yes. When she played you, she was convincing about that, right? You had no clue. No clue. You were with her a lot, right? Uh-huh. True? Yes. He also points out that Combs was the one that actually asked Kid Cudi to help Cassie with her music, basically portraying Sean Combs was cheated on by Cassie after he tried to help her by introducing her to Kid Cudi, who is objectively a much larger musician than she is. It seems like that's the point that they're trying to make during the cross. When Sean Combs was with you at one event after one of your concerts in 2011, he actually asked you if you would do him a favor and do a song with Miss Ventura. Is that true? Do you remember that? Vaguely, yeah. You graciously agreed, right? Right. You were in a studio doing your art with Miss Ventura, is that true? Yes. And that's how you guys really became close, right? We were cool before. And this didn't hurt your relationship, right? It was nice. You enjoyed the time with her, true? Yeah, it was. We were truly just friends at the time. Mr. Combs wasn't around you and Miss Ventura when you were with her, right? No. You two were locked in. You were focused on each other. You had a great relationship is my point. Is that true? Yes. And you did things like you exercised together, right?
What?
Exercised together? Kid Cudi looks genuinely confused. Like, it was so random. I have a sneaking suspicion that the defense is trying to draw insinuations for the jurors that exercising as a couple, you think of more inappropriate things because it was so random. But later with Capricorn Clark, it kind of makes a little bit more sense. Just keep it in mind, but it was so weird. Like, what do you mean? Yeah, you went hiking together. No, I don't remember going hiking. Now, a few more questions are asked, and we're going to get to this later. A sidebar is called, and there's so many sidebars during this entire testimony, and each time Sean Combs is fully bent to the left, like 90-degree angle, like at his hip. He looks like he's about to snap in half, because there are live notes on the sidebars as well, because the sidebars are included in the transcript unless they're sealed, and which means that they have these monitors. They have these giant monitors on all of the court tables for the defense, the government, like the people that work in the court, and you can see every spoken word in real time. It's like a live feed of all the words. A lot of the attorneys, they will just stare at the screen during a witness testimony because they're mainly like reading the words that are being said. Now, he's just reading the live feed in front of Brian's seat, which is on the left of him. Brian's in the little sidebar. I mean, he hasn't been this intense since Cassie's testimony. He's like breaking his back to read the live feed of the sidebars. When the attorneys get back from the sidebar, Kid Cudi is the first to talk. Oh, which side note, before they come back, there is this one moment where Combs does this thing where he looks in the general direction of the jurors, okay? He lifts his shoulders up, brings them back down like a big sigh, like, and he starts shaking his head. Like, can you believe this? Can you guys believe what's going on, right? Like, that was the vibe we got. It was very, like, a little theatrical, kind of like, that's the vibe. They get back from the sidebar, and Kid Cudi is saying, Mr. Steele, I just want to... The judge stops him. You can't say anything. Mr. Steele is going to ask you a question, and you can answer. I just want to clarify something from earlier. You're going to have a chance on redirect. Okay, cool. Brian Steele asks Kid Cudi, though, do you want to clarify something? Yeah. I don't think the date was 2011 when Sean Combs asked me to do a song with Cassie. I think it was 2010. Thank you. Now, by the time of December 22nd of 2011, that's when your house, remember when you talked to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury about the break-in? Yes. I want to talk to you about some of that, okay? You believe that you left your front door open. When I say open, I mean unlocked. Is that fair to say? Yes. And there was no forced entry into your home, true? No. Am I correct? Yes. And in the home, there was no damage to the home. By damage, I mean there was no chairs turned over, glass broken, holes in the wall, things like that, true? No. The only thing, I'm not belittling it, but the only things that were displayed differently is that there were some Christmas presents that were unwrapped, right? Yes. And your dog was behind the door. Right. Locked in the bathroom, basically. Yeah. And no other disturbances there, right? No. Brian Steele brings up that after the break-in, Kid Cudi calls Combs and he's calm. And Mr. Combs, he's calm, right, when you call him? Yes. He didn't curse at you, did he? No. He didn't threaten you, right? No. He just said, we need to talk, basically, right? Yeah. Later, after you got home, you called Mr. Combs again because he's not at your house, right? Right. And he answers the phone, true? Yes. Again, he's calm. Yes. And he tells you, I'm coming to your house, something to that effect, right? Yeah. There's no mention of a firearm, right? No. No one threatened you with a firearm, right? No. You came to meet him and you had no belief that he had a firearm. No one. Miss Capricorn Clark didn't tell you that, right? At that point, I really didn't know. Maybe he would. I couldn't call it. Let's do it this way. Miss Capricorn Clark didn't tell you that, right? You know, no, but I took it. She didn't tell you that he was armed with a firearm, right? No. If it's not true, just say it's not true. You were in love with Miss Ventura, right?
Wait, so he's asked like 20 questions about how this wasn't a scary situation, correct?
Yeah, he's basically like, not to belittle it, but like, why are you scared? Also, how do you know it's Mr. Combs? He was calm.
Like, are we all dumb? I want him to go home, walk home one day,
Yeah.
opens his door, and all his gift is open, and
Yeah.
his dog is locked, and that's it.
But I feel like sometimes that's creepier.
That's creepy. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's absolutely worse because now you don't know what else happened. If someone just steals some stuff, remember the question you said we were talking about back in the days? What would someone do in your house?
Oh, yes.
If someone can just do one thing in your house that will keep you up at night,
Yes.
what would that be? Someone will be like, I would just move a couch to the other
Yes.
side. That
It's
will
like-
keep you up at
Because
night.
you didn't steal anything, you didn't
Yes.
break anything. What was the motive?
Yes.
What does this couch mean? What does unopening the Christmas presents mean?
Yes. Like, it's so much worse.
Yeah.
What do you mean? And then
Yeah.
you confront this person, they're not mad.
They're
They are
calm.
calm.
Yeah.
That's like 10 times more
Yeah.
scary.
But-
What is so hard to understand about that?
Brian Steele is like, no, this is nothing, okay? And you were in love with Miss Ventura, right? Yeah. And she never told you, as close as you were with her, that there was any type of sexual abuse. Is that true? No. You spent time with her freely, right? Right. And Miss Ventura was free with you. She was carefree, as far as you could tell, true? Yeah. Then Brian Steele brings up the Soho House meeting where Combs is standing there like a Marvel supervillain, and Brian Steele says, now Mr. Combs made it clear to you that he was also confused, true? True. Just like you, he's similarly situated. He did not, to your knowledge, know that you were dating Miss Ventura, right? Yeah, true. And he wants to understand how did this happen, and you want to understand how did this happen, basically, right? Yes. And Miss Ventura was living two different lives, is that true? Yes. He definitely didn't threaten you, true? No. In fact, he was gracious. I think your word was really calm. Yeah. And you were professional as well, true? Yes. And it was an understanding, a meeting, that this was about a girl, a relationship, and both of you guys were played. That's pretty much how it ended, true? True. And the person who played you is the same person who played Sean. It's Miss Ventura, true? True. Which is a crazy question to ask, but it was answered. The worst moment, though, of the cross-examination is Brian Steele asks if Kid Cudi and Cassie Ventura were sexually intimate during their romance. Kid Cudi looks taken aback on the stand. He looks confused. He doesn't respond. But before he can even get a chance to respond, there is a very swift, very intense objection because Brian Steele is not allowed to ask that question. There is a very passionate sidebar. Brian Steele tries to defend his questions. I believe that it was discussed on direct, and I'm exploring their relationship. What is there to explore? What's the relevance of the question? That they were intimate. Prosecutor Johnson is not having it. I'm watching them in the sidebar. I've never seen her this animated in my entire life. She looks so passionate. She's going in that sidebar, and I know she's fighting, okay? I mean, she's normally has a very calm, outwardly demeanor. She is, like, fired up. Your Honor, that is a direct violation of Rule 412. So basically, that is the rape shield law. There's two parts to it. First, Rule 412, it prohibits evidence that proves a victim in a case was engaged in any other intimate behavior. AKA, you can't be like, hey, you're accusing this person of SA? Well, guess what? Let me pull up every time that you've ever done anything sexual with anybody else in your life. Let me pull up a whole history, a catalog. It's because it's just shame. It makes the jurors feel like perhaps if she did all those things, maybe she did this thing too. And that's crazy. Second, it bars evidence to prove a victim's predisposition to certain intimate relationships, meaning their general attitude towards intimacy, their desires, their inclinations. AKA, you can't be like, well, you're always going to bars and doing one-night stands with strangers, so maybe you did that with my client. Like, you can't do those things. It's basically to make sure that the victims are not on trial, that they're not dragged through the mud and shamed to hell and back, because I mean, I think even with this rule, SA trials, even this trial, even with the rule in place, a lot of trials become about victims' morality more than the actual SA charge itself.
That is so interesting that there is such a law.
The only reason that we know so much about the freak-offs and even text messages and all of the intimate relations that Cassie and Sean Combs have had is when it comes to the defendant, it's usually admissible because you know
we have to
or you know the male escorts, because it's all part of the trafficking. It's related to that. But anything outside of that should not be. Prosecutor Johnson argues that this is a direct violation of Rule 412, which the judge agrees, and the judge asks Brian Steele, what other relevance to this does any of this line of questioning have? Like, what does it matter? All right, I note the objection. No, I'm asking you a question. What is the answer?
Judge?
Yeah. I think it matters that there has been testimony from Ms. Ventura that she is being suffocated. These are my words by Mr. Combs, and she is spending all her time doing unconsensual sex, yet she is having intimate relations with this gentleman, and it's all calm and consensual. That's really where I'm going. The judge states, if that's the relevance, then the objection is sustained, aka don't ask these questions.
Yeah, that's exactly the reason why this law exists.
Exactly. Now, the thing is, Brian Steele likely knew that he's breaking the rule, and he did it on purpose because
what's said cannot be unheard.
Unring the bell. You can tell the jurors, strike that from the record. Jurors, disregard that question. But it's already been said. They've already seen Kid Cudi's kind of confused, taken aback response, and it's already, it's in their head now.
Yeah. Which also, so what? Like, what does that even mean, anything? What does that even change, right?
Well, I thought, okay, I don't know if this is me, because I was talking about it with my researchers, and they were like, we were all thinking, maybe it's a good thing because she didn't do freak-offs with Kid Cudi. So, like, if anything, it shows, like, there is a difference in the pattern in which she might choose to have intimate relations, which is not the way that it is done in the freak-offs. You know, so I guess there was, like, that point, but then people, you know, it's, like, it's so back and forth of, like, does this hurt the case? Does this kind of help the case? We don't know. I guess it really depends on each of the jurors. Now, after Scott Muscati is off the stand, I have never seen, that's the majority of
also,
the direct.
That's his real name.
Yes, Scott Muscati, and he is off the stand. I have never seen Judge Arun this mad during the entirety of the trial. He is pretty infuriated. The jurors are no longer in the courtroom, and Maureen Comey brings up the 412 issue. Prosecutor Comey says, all of us at the government table were frankly shocked at counsel asking the question that he asked about sexual activity with another person. I do not think your Honor's ruling from the bench could have been clear about the bounds of Rule 412. Apparently, we need to make them even clearer. The rule itself is crystal clear that any evidence of any victim's sexual activity outside of the charged conduct must be noticed, and the victim must have a right to be heard, and the victim must have a right to be heard in a sealed proceeding. It is frankly outrageous that this question was asked in open court without notice to us, notice to the court, or notice to the victim. And so I would ask that the boundaries be made crystal clear from this point on, that that question should not even be asked without raising the issue in the first instance. Well, I agree with you on that, the judge says. 1, the line was crystal clear. And 2, that line was crossed. Mr. Steele, I mean, you knew what you were doing when you did it, and you still did it anyway, and that is unacceptable.
Oh.
If there's any application for further relief, I'll hear it from the government. In this instance, we should not have to run into this issue, and that first question was out of bounds. So is it going to happen again? Brian Steele stands up. No. The prosecutor Comey states, our only request is that the question and answer be struck from the record. Otherwise, at this time, we are not asking for further relief, but we do want to make it very clear that any questions like that are totally out of bounds.
So there's no like consequences for damage is done and
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
Right? Well, there's nothing. They say just tell him don't do that. Are you gonna do that? No, you're not. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if the government could, because he was saying further applications from the government, he's open to hearing it, but I don't think this is a situation where, I don't know what the government could do.
Yeah.
I don't know if they want to do that.
That is crazy. So the judge literally say you knew what you were doing.
And the way he was saying it was firm. Like, everyone in the courtroom was, like, we were scared.
That is a strategy that they're doing,
Yeah.
which is dirty. You're literally crossing lines.
Oh, it's been kind of dirty in the sense of, there was a makeup artist that testified, and like a lot of these testimonies, a lot of them kind of go over the same things that we've already gone over, and I'm gonna try to group them in ways that make sense, and I just didn't feel like this was as pertinent as some of the other testimonies. But Mila Morales, she is a makeup artist for Cassie, who testified and said that she saw bruising on Cassie while she was doing her makeup. What's crazy is the defense tried to admit pictures of Cassie, like half-naked photos for album covers, because Mila Morales did her makeup in it. So they're like, yeah, we want to show this to the jurors to be like, oh yeah, this is the makeup that Mila Morales did. But she's like topless because it's an album cover and it's Hollywood. And the prosecutors are like, are you insane? Why do you need, like, you can just crop her face out and say she did the makeup. And the defense were just like, well, this is like literally just part of the work.
So that was another whole. It was at another situation with was judge involved.
Yeah, so the
What
judge was
happened?
involved, and they're like taking away pictures. Like some pictures were admitted that were not super sexual and like topless and stuff.
But did they put all the picture up for the jurors?
No, nobody were. They were debating it without the jurors.
Oh, they
present.
tried to put it on there.
They tried to put it on, and the government object to a bunch of them because they're like, she's literally topless in one of them.
Wow.
And you're trying to say, oh, I'm just showing this to the jury to show them that this is the makeup look that the witness did on Cassie. It was just, I think like even in the courtroom when the defense were trying to argue their points, it was like, you could just feel a lot of people wincing because it's like, we know what you're trying to do.
And that's interesting because like you would think the court is about justice and the truth. Meanwhile, a lot of it, these are subconscious. You're trying to say, hey, look at this woman dressed this way. Therefore, it has nothing to do with the case.
It was kind of dirty. Especially the pictures, I think it was kind of, a lot of people felt ick about it.
Yeah.
Now, side note, speaking of Brian Steele's kind of wild move for a mistrial comment in the sidebar, a lot of netizens were saying that Brian Steele just snitched on Diddy. Sean Combs killed people and the defense team just admitted it because he was like, I know what Kid Cudi's gonna say. The government knows that Kid Cudi's gonna say Sean Combs killed people. Now, I will say there's a tad bit more to the transcripts. Basically in the sidebar, Brian Steele explains that, quote, he called his friend. Kid Cudi called his friend. This is what's in the 3500. I'm gonna tell you what that is in a second. I know the court read it. He calls his friends who told him that Mr. Combs has had other people killed. I believe that's going to be his answer on why he was scared. Now, side note, the 3500. So right now, it's the government's case in chief. All of the witnesses are subpoenaed by the government, or they are government witnesses, like willingly coming to testify. It's the government being like, here is what we think happened, and we're going to prove it to you for the next 6 weeks. And we're going to bring people to testify for the next 6 weeks. And every single person, they can cross-examine, but you're going to, like, these are the people that we are bringing to plead our case, like case in chief, okay? If someone is a government witness, like Kid Cudi, Cassie, Don Richards, all those meetings that the witness and the government have had prior to the trial, they are not available for discovery by the defense until after the direct testimony. So a lot of the times, the defense attorneys will get all of those government notes while the cross-examination is happening. So like some attorneys will be reading through the 3,500 documents while someone's doing the cross. And like, okay, I don't think, because I know some people were like, that's why Xavier Donaldson seemed like he was stalling for time. That wasn't the vibe, because the next day was the same thing. So that means they would have had the 35 documents all night, came back the next day, and then he was still doing like his correct thing. But I know that was like a speculation, and I do think that happens sometimes. Now, obviously, there are witnesses that they're going to be better prepared for, so I think like Cassie Ventura was probably one of them, because they knew that she was going to testify. She was one of the bigger witnesses in the case, so they must have had a load of questions for her for the cross-examination. But a lot of the times, they just get the documents of whatever government meeting that they had during the cross-examination.
I see.
Yeah,
That's
so
called 3,500.
yes. I mean, it's not like 3,500 pieces of documentation. It's just called
Okay.
it's just like the rule. And he's saying, you saw it in there. He called his friend. Like, he probably told the government in a government meeting prior to the testimony, I called my friend, and they said he's had people killed.
Right.
So then they just got those notes, and then he's like, God, I'm freaking out. Like, he's gonna say this, and the government knows he's gonna say this because it's in the government notes. He's already said this to the government before. Now, it has been kind of taken out of context, where everywhere I see on social media, they're like, did Brian Steele just snitch on his own client? But that's the rest of the context for you.
Okay.
Of like, it wasn't Brian Steele being like, he had people killed. It was like, I just saw the 3,500. You probably just saw the like. I think a lot of it was probably like he saw it and started panicking.
Yeah.
Not that I'm giving anybody an excuse after the question that he asked, but I think it was like that. So he's saying he knows that Kid Cudi called a friend, and he's not actually admitting that his client killed someone or anything of that sort. Nevertheless, I will say it was very startling to read in the transcript. But with that, I think this is the perfect place to leave you, because the very next episode, which will hopefully be up in the next day or two, is going to be on the full testimony of Capricorn Clark. She is the one that showed up at Kid Cudi's house during the break-in. She's the one that called them from the car. She is the one that has accused Sean Combs of kidnapping. It was one of the more insane direct and cross-examinations, in the sense that I think, we have a lot of people that are testifying. They have been in contentious legal battles. They have, or, even like Cassie and Don Richard, they've been in the public eye for so long. And I think that they have so many scars as well. They choose to, I think, have a different way that they cope with it, and when they testify, it presents differently. With Capricorn Clark, I don't think I've ever met someone who has no filter, is the feeling. And not that I personally met her, but it was like the most unfiltered testimony in the entire trial. And it seemed like a lot of people were emotionally moved by her testimony. So there's a lot going on, and that will be in the very next episode. So with that, please stay safe, and I will see you in the next one.
Bada bing, bada boo.
I know our episodes have been later than we wanted them to be, and there have just been a lot of things that have been happening at the court behind the scenes. The first 20 minutes of this video are going to have no relation to the actual trial and the actual happenings of the trial with all the testimonies of the witnesses. So the first 20 minutes are honestly just some behind the scenes information on things that we've been kind of working with. So if that is no interest to you, just skip ahead. I will say though, it has been a rough few weeks. This is our 4th time moving locations. One of them was completely unrelated to the case, and the rest of the times that we've moved to different places to stay, it's just been getting weird, and we're taking all the necessary precautions to keep the entire team safe. And I feel like I haven't really spoken about any of the things that have been happening behind the scenes, so I just want to fill you guys in. There has been so much happening inside the courthouse, or right after the court, or the entire team, like right before we go into the courthouse, and it's just things that we can't really put our finger on, and at the risk of sounding like we're overly paranoid, I'm just going to try and tell you and explain why I think that we've been on edge recently. I'm just going to paint the picture for you. This is not creepy, it's just pure chaos. Outside the courthouse, it is a literal zoo every single day. I see TikToks here and there of people capturing this chaotic tornado that's happening, and it is wild how desensitized everybody is getting to just how incredibly messy everything is. A few days ago, there was a man who came to the courthouse with this giant 2x4 plank of wood, and he was, in a rather menacing way, slamming it against the street poles. He swung it at a reporter. Thankfully, she did not get hit, but it was still terrifying nevertheless. And this is actually the 2nd time within the span of like a few business days that the police have been called on this specific person. He has been around the line for a while. He has been consistently standing in the line to get into the courthouse, and then in the morning, he tries to sell his spot. I will say that this man is very intense. Our only interactions with him personally is that he is very aggressive, and he will aggressively scream "ni hao" at us and expect us to say it back. And so we do, because we're terrified. His friend is also very intense. There was one morning where I was going over transcripts before the courthouse opened. So I'm like sitting on the ledge of the sidewalk and I'm going over the transcripts. He's standing towering over me, and he's like demanding to know what I thought about Cassie's testimony. I told him I'm busy. I have work to do. I'm like going over the transcripts, and he keeps insisting me in a pretty threatening way. He's like towering over me. Why can't I help you? You don't think I can help you? You don't think I'm capable of helping you? I'm telling you I can help you right now. And it just took so long to get him to finally walk away. He was definitely erratic, unpredictable. It felt like he wanted me to answer his persistent questions about what I felt about Cassie's testimony so that he would have a reason to start freaking out. That was the feeling. There was another incident where a man was believed to be holding a pool ball inside of a sock. So he's like threatening to swing it around and hit people with it. We didn't see it. We were warned about it. So we like stayed in the courthouse a little bit longer before exiting that day. And it's the same guy that allegedly we heard again that he spat at a reporter. He was screaming homophobic slurs at people in the line. And the NYPD, they will just take the people harassing the public and the press outside waiting to get into the courthouse, will lead them across the street and then send them off. They literally just cross the street with them. We've seen this happen almost every other day. I mean, I think they can't really do anything unless someone demands to press charges or, I don't know, actually, God forbid, gets injured, so that's great. There is heavy police presence there. The U.S. Marshals are out there every single day, but there are just nonstop people, unwarranted, unprompted, just spawning out of thin air, screaming at everybody. I honestly feel like some of these people are coming to the courthouse to get a fight out of their system. That's the feeling. That's the only way I can describe it. People are trying to argue about pretty much everything outside of this courthouse. I am told that this is very New York, which we have spent some time in New York and had a place here for a while, and it feels like every interaction, like every bad interaction I've had in New York, amplify it times 1,000 and then add it all up, and then I have to relive that experience every single day. We're trying to keep to ourselves. We're really just trying to mind our own business, but even so, just a few days ago, one of our team members was waiting in the line super early, gets harassed to the point of tears. A passerby is cursing at her, screaming belligerently at her, tries to snatch her phone from her hand. We've been told that she's been starting quite a few fights outside the courthouse. This is completely unprompted. She's screaming racist slurs at our team member's face. Nobody cares. Nobody helps. Like, people are just standing around live streaming it. filming it, watching it, and then afterwards, after the crazy lady leaves, the same people that were filming, that did nothing to help our team member, are now filming her as they comfort her. And they're like trying to rub her back and tell her it's okay. It is so dystopian. We were inside the courthouse, so we didn't even know until after the fact. There were briefly a group of protesters wearing Free Diddy shirts across the street from the courthouse. They were allegedly getting paid $20 an hour to stand outside and wear Free Diddy t-shirts to promote the Diddy coin, which we've also received an email about. It's like a crypto coin for Diddy, so there's that. There are people seemingly thirsting after Sean Combs' sons when they arrive and leave for court, with one supporter of the son, not Diddy supporter, kissing Justin Combs on the cheek. Which, speaking of, I will say, there has been an uptick of Diddy supporters coming into the courthouse through the public side. One supporter even tries to hand Sean Combs a stack of papers, which Officer Riz promptly put an end to, but there was a futile attempt. The supporters staying outside the courthouse, they've been slightly confrontational with the press and confrontational with a lot of others that are just live streaming right outside. So that's just setting the scene of what's been happening outside the courthouse. Also, why is Fresh and Fit Myron in the courtroom? Like, he was in the main courtroom for, I think, at least a few days last week. I haven't seen him the past few days, but he could be in the overflow rooms. I did see him outside while when he first started coming around. He's recording outside while a woman is undressing down into her underwear. This is like right outside the federal courthouse. This is how chaotic it's been. Which, if you're not familiar, Myron is the Fresh and Fit guy. If you're luckily unfamiliar with his podcast, which I don't even think is around anymore, he would have this format where he would bring a bunch of women onto the podcast, many of them being OnlyFans models, and he just essentially berates them for being alive. I mean, that's factually incorrect, but emotionally, that's what you're going to feel from the podcast. There are at least 5 times I wrote in my notebook, why is Myron here? Like, I don't know why he's here. But what's interesting about him is he's actually quite meek in real life. Not that I think he should carry himself as he does on his podcast in the courthouse, but he has a very soft demeanor. Softer than other content creators that I run into in the elevators, which is not what I expected of him. Like, we were in the elevator with him once, and everybody's shuffling out, and we were waiting for him to leave, and he's just like, oh, yeah, please go ahead. But, like, very softly. Nevertheless, that's just, like, painting the picture of the chaos. There have been a lot of incidents, though, that have us feeling just weird. Right outside the federal courthouse, there is this one gigantic line that is filled with press and public. You got members of the press, you got members of the public, all in one singular line. The only way that you can kind of differentiate is like maybe they have on their press badge at the time. Now, this line typically starts the day before. The line sometimes starts before we get out of court sometimes. So the line starts while we're inside the courthouse. Clearly, nobody can be at 2 places at once. So a lot of the press members, they will hire line waiters. And just to give you an idea, a lot of the press pews, yes, there's a few independent journalists in there. A good number of them are all with Legacy Media, and Legacy Media has a lot of money. We're a small team, and just to keep up, we're having to spend about $1,000 a day to have line sitters. Actually, more, to just make sure we get into that main courtroom to be able to give you all the details that we really want to provide for you guys. So there's this giant line outside. Press and public all in one line, and then right before the security line into the courthouse, the U.S. Marshals will come out and divvy up the line. So they'll make a press line and they'll make a public line. So it's in order. So if you're like the 5th in line, you might be the 2nd member of the press, or you might be the 3rd member of the public, and they'll just kind of sort you one by one, depending on the order. Now, I will say that a good chunk of the public line are content creators, so it's kind of like a mini press line. Also, these days though, lots of supporters of Sean Combs that are not part of his friends and family that are going in through the public side as well. And then once you get inside the courtroom, the press pews are on the right side and the public pews are on the left side. Recently, there have been so many whisperings and just confusion because there have been people, different people each time, that will lurk around this gigantic main line outside before it's separated. And you'll see that in the beginning, I think the Legacy Media, they're a lot more intense about getting spots in the main courtroom. So good chunk of the first half of the gigantic line are press. There will be random people that will walk up and down this line, primarily focusing on the press members at the very front, and they'll act like they're just walking up and down for exercise, and they will be secretly recording everyone on their phones. Now, mind you, there are a lot of people live streaming outside, so it's not like they're live streaming. It's like they're trying to be discreet, like they're recording, but they don't want the press members to know that they're recording. So it's becoming incredibly uncomfortable, and all the press members are trying to warn each other once they spot someone like this. And it feels like it's every other day that they spot someone secretly recording members of the press. And it's confusing because, you know, a lot of the members of the press, these people are very impressive producers, reporters, journalists that have been in the industry for years. They work with legacy media. They're not the type of people that are just going to say unhinged stuff in broad daylight in a public setting or air out confidential information on the side of the street. So it's not like you're recording the press members saying anything salacious or juicy or even worth capturing on camera. It feels like they're recording to get a general vibe of the members of the press. Because right before we go in, we might have small talk about maybe yesterday's testimony, or like what's to be expected when we walk in today, who's testifying today. There's little conversations like that where maybe you could see each members of the press, maybe you'll see a little bit of their feelings about how it's going, maybe you'll see like tiny bits of their opinions, nothing salacious. Maybe it's more like, oh, I almost cried when she was testifying. Like those are the types of comments you hear. It's really not worth recording. And I say that it's been weird because those same people that are trying to discreetly record, they will often approach members of the press asking questions about how they feel about the case thus far. And they'll try to do it in a very casual manner. But again, we're all warning each other that they're recording us. I think it's been pretty easy for my researchers and I to tell if someone that we meet near or outside or even sometimes inside the courthouse is a genuinely curious person, or if they're asking a lot of strange questions. And that's why it's so hard to explain any of this in a way that doesn't make us seem super dramatic, because we'll get similar questions asked by people who we feel are genuinely just supporters of the podcast or just intrigued because maybe they themselves are trying to start social media. So the past 2 weeks, we have had almost, I want to say it's like more than a handful. I think it's been like 8 or 9 times in the past like week. Not people that we see in the courtroom every single day. Completely new faces that will come up to us, tell us that they love our show, Rotten Mango, and then they keep asking us where we're staying, which hotel we're staying at, which part of the city we're staying at, and of course we give them very non-committal answers because that's a very invasive question to ask.
Not only that, they even ask like, who's here?
Yes, I'm going to get into that.
Like,
so like just to give you an idea, like clearly if someone is a member of the press or if it's a fellow content creator or somebody that I see every single day and we have some sort of foundation and they ask me where are you staying, it feels like, oh, because we're all trying to get a gauge of all the hotels nearby, which one's a good one, which one has good amenities for after court. But these are random people that are like, hey, by the way, I love your show, nice to meet you, my name is blank, where are you staying? It's like instant. It's just non-stop questions about which hotel we're staying at. And then if we evade the question, it becomes what part of the city, which area, how long does it take you to get here? Do you Uber or do you walk? Who's all staying with you? Is it just you guys? Is it just you and your researcher here? Who, like, do you go home during the weekends if you're not from the city? Do you fly back home? Do you take the train? Like, it's just non-stop.
Like, what are some of these questions going to provide for this person? Like,
Nothing.
There's no need for anybody to ask these type of questions.
And the worst part is, it's pretty clear that we're so uncomfortable with these questions. Because we'll literally be like, yeah, haha. And then they'll just keep asking.
And some of them don't seem like they've really watched anything from you. Yeah.
Because now, like, our researchers do this thing where they will try to have conversations about the show. And most of them have no clue what the show is even about, is the feeling.
Yeah.
And then this person will just vanish. That'll be like the first conversation we have with them, and then we'll never see them in court again. So one specific time, there was a man, an older guy, who's asking us where we're staying, just pressing. And he's in the main courtroom, in the public section. He's asking us all these invasive questions, and then he's waiting for us in the hallway during each break, just casually lingering near us the entire day, and then just rerouting every conversation back to which hotel you're staying at, pressing details. My researcher passes me a note later in the day saying, look at him right now. He doesn't even have a notebook. So usually, because you can't bring your phone, and you're not just like staring, I mean, even members of the public, they're all taking notes, even if they're not content creators. Sure enough, I look, no notebook, no notes are being taken, nothing. And then he never shows up to court again. Another odd instance, this is a completely separate person, that's asking nonstop where we're staying. We give a non-committal answer to him. He keeps asking. And again, it's not giving that, hey, I'm genuinely curious because I'm also staying at a hotel. It's just so unsettling. We refuse to answer. We keep laughing it off. He keeps pressing. Later during a break, he approaches my researcher outside while I'm in the bathroom. And then he asks her where I'm staying. And she again does not respond because he just asked us while we were together. It was just weird. He literally just asked us. This has been happening like every other day. There are other odd questions that are asked by people that don't necessarily look like they even care about the show in the slightest. So one person in particular asked a series of questions trying to gauge how much, quote, power I have over my audience. Like, they kept asking, like, can you make them do anything? And I was like, do you think I, like, run a cult? I think half of them don't even like me that much. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean I can't make them do anything, period? But they kept asking, like, well, you don't think if you say something, they would listen to you? And I'm like, I don't think so. I think they would do their own research. And it did not seem like this person cared at all about this show. Now, this could be completely unrelated, and in addition to everything else that I've just talked about, and everybody's already pretty intense. There was one instance where we're walking out of the courthouse. We run into someone who's like, hey, I love your show. That's it. And then they like come in for a hug. It was kind of abrupt. I was a little bit taken off guard. I love your show. Pulling me in for a hug, and my researcher snatches my arm, pulls me back, and is like, we gotta go. Our car is here. And I thought it was kind of strange. So we get into the car, and she's telling me their hand was like elbow deep into your tote bag. It's clear that they're looking for something. Now, I will say that my tote bag opening is quite large, but it's right under my armpit. So you would have to attempt to stick your arm in there. It would not be an accident, like, oh, I'm hugging you and my hand just ended up in this side. It's like elbow deep. So, I mean, I guess they could have been trying to steal my wallet, but it was weird. There's a lot of other small incidents that have taken place over the past week and a half. It feels like the weirdness and the influx of all these odd questions of where are you staying, how much influence do you have increased, especially the where are you staying ones. I mean, I've never had that many people ask me where I'm staying. And maybe it's coupled with all the chaos outside, with the people like threatening to hurt people with a pool ball and a sock outside. Maybe it has to do with the intensity of the case itself, and it's just all accumulated into this very stressful situation. But we have been just taking a bit more time to worry about our surroundings. Honestly, nothing really happened. It's just, you know, when you have a gut feeling like something's not right, it's kind of a lot of those that have been creeping us out, and we're just trying to stay on top of it before it escalates to anything. We could definitely just be paranoid, but I wanted to keep you guys updated on everything that's going on behind. But as of right now, nothing has really happened. Don't be worried. Nobody here is terrified. It's just been weird, and we're trying to be alert. We've been moving around to different places where we stay been more mindful to just not come straight back to where we stay after court. Just taking all these like necessary small steps, and it just takes time. Because it's not just me, it's my researchers, it's my whole team. We're all just trying to make sure everybody feels safe and comfortable. And that's what we've been dealing with more in the past week, but I think that we should be able to get episodes up more quickly. I think we have a really good plan in place for all of us to feel safe, and hopefully it works. So with that being said, let's get into the actual episode. To thank today's sponsors who have made it possible for Rotten Mango to support Achievement Centers for Children. They're a nonprofit organization helping children and adults with disabilities to achieve their greatest potential. This episode's partnerships have also made it possible to support Rotten Mango's growing team, and also our constant moving around in the city, bringing the team to the city. And we'd also like to thank you guys for your continued support as we work on our mission to be worthy advocates. As always, full show notes are available at rottenmangopodcast.com. Few disclaimers: there are mentions of physical assault, kidnapping, firearms. Many of the quotes and statements included have been shortened and condensed for brevity. And you guys know the drill. Sean Combs is presumed innocent until proven guilty. That burden of proof is the responsibility of the government. Any descriptions or observations regarding Mr. Combs' legal team, anybody inside that courtroom, are personally noted by myself or my other researchers who are present in the courtroom. They should not be used as like a definitive source on how you should feel about anybody. So with that being said, let's get started. In other news, I think Diddy might know us. I don't know, maybe. So I'm just gonna explain. The first time it happened, I didn't even say it in an episode because my researcher and I are like, it was weird, but like, we could be dramatic. The second time it happens, I'm like, wait, maybe I'm not being dramatic. Not that it means anything regardless, but here's what happened and you tell me because what is going on? Usually, Sean Combs will do this thing where he does a sweep of the press pews when he first walks into the courtroom. He's like hugging his attorneys. He'll look to the public side, which is on his right, and then we're kind of diagonal from him. And he oftentimes, since more of his supporters are coming to the courtroom these days, he'll shoot them little hand hearts. He'll put his hand to his chest. He'll mouth thank you. And then the press pews, we get a simple glance over and sometimes a nod, like a quick head down nod. Now, clearly, this stands out to both my researcher and I really strongly because on Thursday, we even write the time down, at 8:50 a.m., jurors are not in the courtroom. Attorneys are doing their thing. They're going through their documents. They're conversing about certain aspects of the day. Sean Combs sits down at his chair, and he turns in his chair to the right. This is our eye direction. Like, we can see him now. He makes eye contact with the press pews. We're at the very first row of the press pews. So there's 2 rows behind us. Now he glances over the press pews. He starts staring in what felt like in our general direction or perhaps right behind us. And it's a pretty lengthy stare. And then he starts nodding while mouthing the words dramatically, I know you.
You don't hear it, you only see the mouthing, right?
Yeah, and it was clear that he was doing it so whoever is receiving it can understand what he's saying. Because it's not like mumbling, he's like, I know you. Like very clear. He mouths it twice with what we perceive to be a smirk. Then as he's turning back around to face the front, he's like ever so slightly shaking his head while he's still smirking.
And at that point, the feeling was he was saying that towards you, right?
Yeah, so my researcher wrote, like, it looked like he was looking at Stephanie. I wrote, like, listen, you know when you can, like, make eye contact with someone, it feels like they're looking at you? Because you know when you're talking to someone and they're looking behind you, you start, like, looking behind you without even thinking about it subconsciously because you're like, wait, what's going on? Why are you looking behind me? It felt like he was looking at me, but again, I'm not trying to be dramatic. I don't know if he was looking at me. He could have been looking behind me, right? But then right at that moment, the jury comes in, we all stand up, and as there's noise in the courtroom, because we're not allowed to talk when the judge is on the bench, a reporter from a major media network, I mean, she's been doing this for years and years. She's like a professional. She turns to me and she whispers, quote, you're putting that in your video, right? Because that was at least 7 seconds. And 7 seconds does feel like an eternity
It's
in
not
that
only
courtroom.
just looking, but like the mouthing of I know you
Yeah.
is weird.
And it was a pretty long time. Like usually when he, you know how in the beginning I'm like, this guy loves to stare. He kind of dropped a lot of the staring, at least towards the press. But when he did stare, it was still a little more brief. It feels like eternity, but it's more brief. This one was quite lengthy. So my researcher and I, we both felt it was weird. We both wrote it down independently in our notes in the courtroom. We talked about it after, and we're like, you know what? We can't be sure. We don't want to be dramatic. Then it happens again on Friday, a week later. So not the following Friday, but a week later. And this one felt more like, okay, are we crazy? It feels a little more real. I don't know. I could be wrong still, but so Friday, we're sitting in the same exact seats, first row of the press pews. However, there is a row of counsel in front of us. Now, a lot of the witnesses, they'll have their attorneys, family, and friends. Like, that's why we were sitting behind Cassie's attorney and Cassie's husband. They'll sit right in the pew in front of us. Mia, she was testifying. Her friends and family and her attorneys are in the pew right in front of us, and it's packed. It's jam-packed. And the whole day on Friday, all the press members are complaining about how they can't see anything. And we're in the first row of the press. And it was difficult for me to see sitting like this. Like, I couldn't see the witness and the defendant. Like, I could see the witness, I could see Mia, but I can't see the defendant that well. So my entire neck was crooked the entire time. So my researcher is focusing on the witness and her body language, and I was like, okay, I'm going to focus on the defendant then because I got to turn my neck. We can't just keep moving our heads because we don't want to bother the press behind us. So my head is poked out like this. I had to put pus on my neck. That's how I'm trying to describe how much my neck was turned. So on Friday, there's this moment where there's a sidebar. Sean Combs' attorneys are near the front of the courtroom with the judge, and regardless, the jurors are still sitting on the side. Sean Combs turns around, but he turns to his right. So his mom is right behind him. It might have been easier for him to turn left. Maybe not, because maybe he's right-handed. But he does like a full turn. So he turns right. He glances over at our side of the courtroom. Not like our side, but where we're sitting. And then he talks to his mom. And then he's smiling, nodding at her. He's like mouthing, "I love you." And then my neck is tilted still because I'm observing him and I'm taking notes about him talking to his mom during this sidebar. And as he's making his turn back to the front, it felt like we make awkward eye contact. And I say awkward to the point where I'm like, you know when it's so awkward, you almost like instinctively smile or look down because you're like, oh, I just got caught staring at someone. That was the feeling. It was like, oh, I literally just got caught staring him down. And he starts rubbing his chin with his left hand and mouths what appears to seem like, "I know you, I know you." And this time it seemed more pronounced because as he's rubbing his chin with his left hand, he does like a slight index point. It's not like a point. He's not pointing his finger, but it's kind of like a hand gesture, like, "I know you," like kind of like you, like almost pointing at you, whoever you is. Then he turns to the front. And it was just so odd. And regardless, to us, not to us, it was intense. It was odd. Maybe he's talking about the whole press as a whole? I don't know. Weird.
So to clarify, right? So Stephanie clearly feels like it was really uncomfortable eye contact, along with mouthing, "I know you." And even the phrase itself, "I know you," sounds really off. Like, what does that mean? You know me?
Yeah, okay, so even the first time that he did it, the previous Thursday, right? Like, my researcher was a bit more firm than me, and she's like, no, he was literally looking, and I saw it, like, I'm watching from the side.
And also, just to clarify,
Yes.
I think it is normal for them to know a lot of the press.
Oh,
because
yeah, I
they're
think-
doing research every day, seeing what everyone's talking about.
I think
it's completely normal, and we're expected of that. But the fact that he's mouthing that feels a little bit more intentional. Like, what does that mean, right?
Yeah, I think if they don't know every single person in the press pew, the attorneys are not doing their jobs right, especially if he's paying that much money. I think that they should probably know every single person in that courtroom, maybe not the public, but everybody else. Yeah, I mean, you're having a lot of the same familiar faces over and over again, and these are the people that are going outside and telling the world what is happening that's maybe not on the transcript. And so it makes sense that he would know every single member of the press, right? But it was just like, I think the intensity of the stare was a lot. It just is an intense moment. And I think the first time it happened, my researcher was a bit more firm in the sense of like, no, he was saying, "I know you." Because I thought, well, maybe he was saying, "How are you?" to somebody. Who knows, right? But then the second time he does like the finger point. So it was just weird. And again, he knows us, he doesn't know us. Does it really matter? I don't think so. But I did almost pee myself. Like, that's all I'm trying to say. Now, with that being said, Sean Combs walks into the courtroom, black sweater. This is a different day. And the attorneys, it's so interesting. I feel like as the trial progresses, he can't even hide it. His real mannerisms are starting to show because every single thing just reminds me of a commanding businessman. And I'm just going to give you like a scale of his businessman poses. Anytime he sits and he listens to a witness testimony, he will have a default businessman pose that he sits in, and sometimes it's a lot more pronounced than others. But right when he walks into the courtroom, he looks like the president of the board meeting. All the attorneys are standing, waiting to hug him, waiting to greet him. Meanwhile, the prosecution, they look like they're not here to play games. Combs sits down on his chair. On either side, he's got Nicole Westmoreland standing behind him on his right side. On his left side, he's got Ryan Steele. And they're both standing behind him with one hand on the back of Diddy's chair, and they're crouched over and talking to him. They're both whispering to both sides of his face. And it's like two consultants going over a business deal with the CEO, and Sean Combs is just staring straight ahead. Meanwhile, Tenny Garagos and Mark Agnifilo walk in. Combs stands up. He pulls out Tenny's chair for her, even helps her scoot in, which apparently she's 4 months pregnant with her second child. Mark Agnifilo, also very busy. He is the type of student that I feel, even before a test, everybody else in the classroom is like, you know what? If I fail, I fail. He's the one that still knows in his textbook until the very last moment. He's not talking to anybody. He's just studying his notes. And to give you an idea, Judge Arun The judge, very firm, but he's also kind of sick of everyone right now. For example, in a sidebar, both sides are only allowed to have 2 lawyers from each side at the sidebar. But the defense team, because they have practically a whole football team of lawyers, they always consistently have more than 2 lawyers that go to the sidebar. And maybe Mark Agnifilo can see that the judge is getting annoyed because he mentions to him, I know you have a 2-lawyer rule at the sidebar and I know we've been breaking it, so I'm guilty. And the judge just says, well, it's like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? You get a few lifelines, but you're running out. And it's going to be a very intense day. The next witness on the stand is Capricorn Clark. Everybody has been anticipating her testimony, considering she's the one that has claimed she was kidnapped by Sean Combs. I mean, that's a lot to unpack. Capricorn Clark, she walks in looking so casual. Like a lot of the other witnesses, they've come in very well dressed, very well refreshed. They don't look happy, but they look like they're ready for a fight. They look like they're ready for battle. They look like they're ready for testimony. They look like they're prepared. Capricorn Clark walks in and she looks like, this doesn't even look like Monday at her work. This feels like a Wednesday after a crazy Taco Tuesday. Like, that's the vibe. Her hair is tied back. She has on these giant eyeglasses that cover half of her face. She doesn't look like she has much makeup on. She's wearing a white shirt, super thin, and a pinstripe skirt. What's interesting is if you actually look at photos of her leaving the courthouse, she's not wearing that same outfit. She's actually wearing a pinstripe vest and nothing underneath. So it's like a tank vest and you can see her belly button. It's cropped. You can see the tattoos on her arm and it's a perfect match with her skirt. I don't think the prosecutors liked that. So someone gave her a long sleeve white t-shirt.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know
When she
who's-
walked in, someone made her change.
It seems like it. I don't know if it was the prosecutors or her own counsel or maybe it was one of her friends. I don't know. But someone was like, maybe you should wear this.
So someone changed her out of the vest?
Yes.
Okay.
Because you could see tattoos, you could see a lot of shoulder, which, I mean, it's court, right? I guess no shoulders. And you could see her belly button. So I don't know whose shirt it is. She walks in, and you can just, I think the minute she walks in, you can kind of tell that she's already going to have a very interesting testimony because she just looks like she is not very prepared for the testimony. And it seems like everybody else is very prepared for the testimony. They've talked it over with counsel. Like, this is something that they knew and they were anticipating was going to happen. Capricorn Clark looks like she's already crying on the way to the witness stand. Like, she looks very relatable in the sense of, like, because same, I would also be a wreck. That's what it feels like. Now, Combs is doing the same thing where everyone in the pews, they're turning with Capricorn Clark as she's walking like she's a bride down the aisle. We're all like watching and turning our bodies facing the front with her. Sean Combs does not look back until she's in his view, and then he'll just watch her go to the witness stand. And with that, she takes the stand. There's a reason why the sun is hot and the sky is blue. Just like there is a reason why Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. For more than 35 years, Morgan & Morgan has been fighting for the people, fighting for regular, everyday people across the country with over 100 offices and more than 1,000 lawyers nationwide, having recovered more than $25 billion for over 500,000 clients. Morgan & Morgan has a proven track record of fighting to get you full and fair compensation. In Florida, a client received $12 million after the insurance company offered $350,000. In Pennsylvania, a client was awarded $26 million, 40 times the insurance company's offer of $650,000. The truth is, if you pick the wrong law firm, you might be setting yourself up to lose before you even get started. All law firms are not the same. If you're ever injured, you can check out Morgan & Morgan. Their fee is free unless they win. For more information, go to forthepeople.com/rotten or dial #law, pound 529 from your cell phone. That's forthepeople.com/rotten or #law, pound 529 from your cell. This is a paid advertisement. Now, we did a quick sweep of some old gossip blogs just to get an idea of how this was going to go. Capricorn Clark, if you knew about the music industry well, if you knew some of like the more figures in the music industry, so not just, oh, this celebrity, this artist, this musician, but their managers, their assistants, their staff, their personnel, you would probably know Capricorn Clark. She was Combs' assistant and manager of his clothing brand, but she's also friends with celebrities like Rihanna and A$AP Rocky. She seems a bit like a socialite in her own right. That's how people talk about her in these gossip blogs. But out of nowhere, someone that has always been with Sean Combs, she suddenly gets fired. And so all these gossip blogs, like 10 years ago, they start speculating, why did she get fired? Why did she get fired? There's rumors that she was fired for stealing from Diddy. He shut those rumors down. There were rumors that she was having intimate relations with Diddy, and then Cassie found out. Those are later shot down. It's just so much is happening. With one post from 2014 on a gossip website reading, "Old tea, but I heard Diddy brought Cassie into the bedroom with Capricorn." One gossip blog enthusiast writes, in 2015, she and Cassie developed a very close bond like sisters, and Capricorn started noticing that Diddy was rejecting Cassie's music to keep her under his thumb. This is in 2015. So Cap would tell Cassie that she could do better, and Diddy didn't like that, so he would start telling Cass that Cap was the one leaking bad stories about her, and that whenever Cass wasn't around, Cap would belittle her, and eventually Capricorn quit. So that's what they're hypothesizing is why Capricorn is no longer in Diddy's circle. But now, Capricorn's Instagram is private. Her bio just reads, "Nothing to see here. Everything not saved will be lost. Tell the truth, shame the devil." With a lot of people thinking that Sean Combs is the devil. Because even around the time of Cassie's lawsuit, there was a tweet that has since been removed and her ex has gone in private. But Capricorn Clark allegedly tweeted, "Don't take the path of the wicked. Don't follow those who do evil. Stay away from that path. Don't even go near it. Turn around and go the other way." Another one, she adds, "Doors be unlocked. You gotta be willing to walk away from the money. Full stop. 2011 was hell. Tragic kingdom." She also does another one that's more clearly aligned with Sean Combs. "Black women end up being the sacrifice. For the last 11 years of my life, I had to deal with everyone's nonsensical allegiance to the devil. They will skin you and wear you, baby girl, and then pretend that they never wanted your skin." Kim was the only person who didn't switch up. The only one. "Dark times. I'm personally very triggered. I pray it's over. I never deserved this. Stop. Hashtag protect black women IRL. Hashtag RIP Kim." And it's a picture of her and Kim Porter.
Wow.
So clearly, she has very strong feelings. And she starts off the direct by giving some background. She says that she's always been in the music industry. She interned at Def Jam Records, which is a massive music label. Then she was with Death Row Records with Suge Knight, which is Bad Boy Records' constant nemesis. This is the origins of the Tupac and Biggie rivalry. She also mentions that, quote, "My mother died, and then shortly thereafter, my father died." And this is like 2 seconds of her taking the stand. She's already about to cry, and she sounds like she's crying already. And some of the defense attorneys look at each other like, what the fuck? I guess that they don't like the instant going into sympathetic territory. I will say that Capricorn Clark is probably the most, second, top 3 most captivating witnesses. I mean, she just talks in a way where I feel like you just know everything she's saying, she's probably oversharing. That's the feeling. You feel like she's going to get very messy on the stand, but maybe it's good because it makes her feel very transparent. Even when she's asked to identify Combs, she closes her eyes dramatically and she's like, "Blue sweater." It was like a nearly black, very dark navy blue sweater. So everyone did kind of look at each other like, wait, are we sure? But yes. Now, she's very intriguing. She sounds like a smoker, has a very raspy voice, and she sounds like she is 2 seconds away from sobbing with every question. It's not like she's 2 seconds away from being emotional, so she's getting choked up. It sounds more like, you know when people sob and it's more like audible? Like, ah. It sounds like she's 2 seconds away from that. She mentions that she works with Death Row. Then her very next job is Bad Boy Entertainment with Sean Combs in 2004 as his personal assistant. And it's a bit of a switch considering she didn't just work for Sean Combs' nemesis and competitor Suge Knight. They're actually very close in some respects. Capricorn's best friend has children with Suge Knight. So it's very complicated. And right off the bat, Prosecutor Steiner is coming in asking all the questions. And Ms. Clark, I want to direct your attention to December of 2011. Were you working for Mr. Combs at that time? Yes. So I'm trying to, and again, because you only get the transcript, and I feel like it's very hard to understand why the jurors might have different receptions to different testimonies. And a lot of it is so much in the delivery and the voice and the tone, because I think a lot of the times it conveys whether or not you believe this person. So if I'm just reading the transcript, it's like, she says, yes, right? But in reality, it's more like, yes. It's very raw. What occurred at that time? I was kidnapped. So the jurors, they immediately start taking notes. They look back up, and Combs is very still, statuesque. Generally, what were your duties as a personal assistant? To shadow him from before he wakes up until he releases me at night? Which, even just the way she words things is very interesting. Like, what do you mean he releases you at night? She explains that after working as his personal assistant, she quits and then comes back a little while later to work as the director of marketing for Shanjan Women's, and then the global of Shanjan Women's, and then later she comes back as Cassie's manager, or like the creative director for Cassie. And so when she's asked about Shanjan, she says, it's a new tentacle from the master brand of Shanjans that I was in charge of. And again, everyone's just taking notes. And meanwhile, Combs is still just staring right ahead. His mom walks in late during the direct testimony. He doesn't even notice. Everybody is so absorbed in Capricorn Clark's testimony. Capricorn is shown pictures of a few of the security guards for Combs. And it's interesting because even when she's looking at the pictures on the evidence screen, she looks like these security guards are about to jump up and attack her out of the screen. Like, she looks scared to look at the screen. She's like wincing and kind of glancing at the screen. And she is very descriptive. She likes to put her arms out to describe people's statures. She says D-Rock is a bit more, he's about 6'3", 6'4", more slender, very solid. I would say quarterback, running back type of body. And Paul Offert, that everybody calls Uncle Paulie, he's the head of security for Sean Combs. Can you please describe his general appearance? Quiet, stoic, a bit menacing. Physically, he looks like a linebacker. There's a picture admitted into evidence. And is this picture how Mr. Offert typically looked? No. What's different? He doesn't have his glasses on. His blacked out sunglasses that he wears 100% of the time. Capricorn Clark testifies that on the very first day of the job, working as Combs' personal assistant at like 9 p.m., it's dark outside in New York City, Sean Combs and Uncle Paulie take her to Central Park. Capricorn says Sean Combs tells her, I had no clue that you had anything to do with Suge Knight when I hired you. This is her first day on the job. And he basically says to her, according to her, if anything happens, if you do anything to, I guess, mess Sean Combs up or give information or intel to Suge Knight, quote, he would have to kill me. Mark Agnifilo during this entire direct testimony is a whack-a-mole. He's constantly standing up. Objection, Judge. Sustained. Miss Clark, what was Mr. Combs' demeanor when he threatened that if anything happened, he would have to kill you? Calm. How did you perceive his threats? Very serious? Why is that? I felt like there was some gravitas to the fact that he might have had issues with Suge. How did you react when Mr. Combs threatened you? And she starts sobbing, and her voice gets very high-pitched. She's like, I said, we'll just have to see. That's the tone, and it seems very emotional.
Like she can't even hold it back anymore.
Yeah, it's like she's starting to get very emotional.
And this is like still early on, right?
It's like 3 minutes in. During this, Combs is very stoic. He's sitting still, but his head is kind of cocked to the side a tiny bit. Meanwhile, Capricorn Clark is sitting there, and she seems very anxious. She's moving around nonstop. Mark Agnifilo keeps jumping up out of his chair to object to everything, and the prosecutor asks, what do you mean by that? It meant that there was nothing I could do in Central Park to convince him that I was a trustworthy person, and I wrote down in my notes, you know when someone is drunk and emotional? I don't think she's drunk at all. I think she's completely sober. But just to give you an idea of her tone, like when someone gets very drunk, they get emotional and they start talking, it almost becomes like a kid. Do you know what I'm trying to explain? So it's more like, there was nothing I could do to convince him that I was a trustworthy person. It sounds like when you're drunk and you're trying to like explain something as you're crying, as you're emotional, but you're a little drunk. So it sounds kind of like that.
And how does that make like the jurors feel when
there are a few jurors that never seem that intrigued by anyone? Even during Cassie's testimony, I felt like they would rather be anywhere else on this planet. Like they seemed, honestly, I don't want to use the word, but they seemed bored. Like a few of them. I think most of them were very in tune and taking notes, but a few of them, they just look bored every single day that I'm there. During Capricorn's testimony, they're jotting down notes like passionately, every single one of the jurors, because the emotion is so raw. I think Cassie's testimony, a lot of the words she says evokes emotions in people, but when she says it, most of the time she does not convey a lot of emotions. She's saying it matter of the fact, this is how I felt, this is what happened. Capricorn Clark, you can't not feel her emotions because she feels it so heavily.
So like when Stephanie came home that day, like she was saying this is one of the most like
I think
impactful.
most impactful testimony. I think everybody felt that way because here's the thing that everyone kept saying about Capricorn Clark, and like this is the best way I could phrase it. A lot of people said she's just captivating. My feeling is if you don't already believe her, you want to believe her because of how transparent she feels. She just feels like a mess, like a friend that you're like, oh my god, you're kind of a mess and I want to help you.
Yeah.
So she's like crying. I knew that I didn't have anything to do with any of that stuff that he possibly could have had. Objection, judge. So Mark Agnifilo is just nonstop objecting to everything. Capricorn explains that she still worked for Combs after the Central Park threats because she felt like, yeah, maybe I could have been more transparent about telling him that I worked for Suge Knight prior to all of this. But there were just other alarming things that happened during the course of her employment. There's this one time, we were at MTV. He was doing MTV Press with 50 Cent. And after the interview wrapped up, myself, Puff, and Chris Lighty, which is 50 Cent's manager at the time, got in the elevator. So 50 Cent is not in the elevator. It's her, Puff, Chris Lighty, which is 50 Cent's manager. What happened in the elevator? Capricorn is explaining that Combs had an issue with 50 Cent. She doesn't dive much deeper into it, but if you watched our previous 4-part series, you know that 50 Cent is amongst a long list of, he's got a lot of career accomplishments, but he is also a professional Diddy hater. He also has recently discovered AI-generated images and how to produce them, so he's just been spamming the feed with AI-generated pictures of him in court wearing free Diddy shirts. Regardless, Capricorn Clark says, Puff told Chris because they were having some sort of issue, like, I don't really like all this back and forth. I don't like that. I like guns. What was Mr. Combs' demeanor when he said that he liked guns? Very serious. During the testimony about 50 Cent, Diddy looks over at Mark Agnifilo, who asks him a question. Diddy purses his lips like a duck and just nods slowly. I don't know what that means. Is he confirming, like, yeah, I did say that? Like, I don't know. Meanwhile, 50 Cent will later take to Instagram to write, cut. Wait a minute, Puffy's got a gun? I can't believe this. I don't feel safe, frowny face, LOL.
He's responding to this testimony.
Yeah, but it does not get better from here. Capricorn Clark says within a few months of working for Combs, she gets accused of theft. She's had the job for a few months, and she gets accused of stealing very expensive high-end jewelry that was on loan from Jacob the jeweler. So this isn't even Sean Combs' jewelry. A lot of celebrities will get loaned big pieces for events. She says it was a diamond necklace with a cross, diamond bracelet, and a diamond watch. Miss Clark, had you stolen the jewelry? I did not. But it was in her possession at one point. Combs gave it to her for safekeeping because she's the assistant. They're traveling to Miami. She's to keep it safe. And on this before they even get on the plane to go to Miami, she realizes the jewelry is missing. What did you do when you realized that the jewelry was missing? I told the driver to stop the car and I called security and I told them to lock everybody in and search them. She tells Combs that the jewelry is missing, and he's telling her, okay, well, I'm going to head to Miami for the event. You go back home to your place with Uncle Paulie, the head of security, with the blackout sunglasses. She goes back to her house in Queens, where Uncle Paulie starts questioning her about the events leading up to the jewelry being missing, and then he starts searching through her entire house. She says, quote, he went through my belongings, he went through my common areas, I had a roommate, and he just searched. He didn't find anything. But he tells her he's going to be back tomorrow. Like, we need to figure this out. The next day, Capricorn says Uncle Paulie comes to pick her up, and he takes her to 1710 Broadway, which at this time was being converted into the new Bad Boy Entertainment headquarters, but she did not know that at this point. She just knew that when she walks in there, the whole place looks like it's under construction and abandoned. They walk in through the glass doors, her and Uncle Paulie. She says that someone she doesn't know comes and locks the front door behind them from outside the building, like you would lock your house from the outside.
That's crazy.
They walk in. She says the building is just, quote, dilapidated. She says post-move out, post-pre-move in, the floors weren't even really done on the levels we were on. The floor wasn't done. There was like old pieces of like, permanent fixtures around that were sort of taken out. It's pretty much a gutted building. They go up to the 6th floor and it looks similar, dilapidated. Floor isn't done, nothing built yet, some old built-ins, and quote, there was a 6-foot folding table with some chairs in the middle of the room, and there's another person there. So now it's Uncle Paulie, Capricorn Clark, and this gentleman who's sitting there waiting for them, which Capricorn describes as a heavyset gentleman who was chain-smoking cigarettes, and she'll do hand motions, and drinking black coffee. Can you describe the individual's appearance? Very wide. very heavy. Looked like the size of 2 linebackers. He wasn't tall. He didn't stand very much either. So Uncle Polly is a linebacker. This man is 2 linebackers. When you say size and width, he was very large? Yes. Can you describe this man's size relative to your own? Capricorn looks at the prosecutor, then she turns to the jury, and it looks like she's trying to think in her mind, like, how do I describe someone's size to a whole group of people? And she just goes for it. 5 of me across? I mean, he was very wide. Some of the jurors, they're doing like full teeth smiles and giggles because the way she's delivering the information is so, again, she's like looking at the jurors and she's like, 5 of me? Like very wide, like very descriptive. It's a pretty goofy moment in light of how serious everything's been and depressing in this courtroom. I mean, just the way that she like stands with her arms out, it's a lot. We're not used to that. The only person not amused, naturally, is Sean Combs, who just cocks his head to the right. Nevertheless, Capricorn Clark and Mr. 2 linebackers are left alone. Uncle Polly leaves, and Mr. 2 linebackers, whom she states she never learns his name, he tells her that she has been brought to this building so that she could take a lie detector test to find out what happened to the jewelry. What, if anything, did he say would happen if you did not pass the test? He said if you fail these tests, they're going to throw you in the East River. And she starts sobbing. The minute those words come out of Capricorn Clark's mouth, the jurors are jotting down notes. Combs looks around like he's looking at like, hello? Why is someone not saying anything? Hello? What's happening? And then finally, Agnifilo stands up. Your Honor, I'm going to object. Move to strike the last answer. Can we approach for a second? During the sidebar, Combs is leaning his elbows on his armrest, using his right hand to touch his chin. He seems very pensive, just sitting there. Meanwhile, Capricorn is up there. She's got these giant